Good evening and welcome to One Hub Racing. This is the P4 tier race, round 7. Takes us to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, the United States of America. I'm Tom Kent in the commentary box, giving you the details for tonight's run-in. 18 minutes of qualifying, followed by a 28-lap race that could decide the World Championship tonight. 2 rounds to go. Jamie Met, 11 points clear at the top of the standings. For him to become champion by the end of this evening's race, he would need to be at least 22 points clear of everyone else for him to clinch the championship with a round to spare. He would ideally need to win and get the fastest lap, and for Infamous to finish 4th or lower, and for Jason to finish 5th or lower for him to be crowned champion. There are plenty of permutations, different permutations as to how the championship could be decided. If anyone is going to win the championship, it can only be Jamie this evening because he is the championship leader. If it doesn't get decided, well, we've got the season finale in Bahrain that will most certainly decide it if it doesn't get wrapped up here. So Jamie knows he's got a good cushion at the top of the championship. Will he go for it and clinch it here, or will he play it safe and give himself enough of a cushion to make sure he's got a good margin over everyone else heading into the final round in Sakhir in 7 days' time? We've got 14 drivers in the lobby, so whilst we are waiting for qualifying to begin, let's take a moment to mention One Hub Racing's sponsors and partners. So we begin with Next Level Racing, who sponsored the league by providing its prizes. Pure Sim Gear, who sponsored the league by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined total of pole positions and fastest laps. Gamergoo, who sponsored the league by providing Gamergoo samples to the trophy winners. On to our partners, Vespertine, who partner One Hub Racing in their support with the championship prizes. ERT, who partner up with the Going Gets Tough Award, the ERT Going Gets Tough Award, and the league trophies. And finally, SimGrid, who are powering One Hub Racing and running the seasons through their community and platform. There is a website that shows you all the standings and results, as well as all the trophies and prizes that are up for grabs for our drivers in each of the 4 tiers. This is the P4 tier. There is the other tiers coming up. There's the P3 tier that begins at 7 o'clock, as far as I know. 45 minutes after, 7:45 p.m. British Summer Time, it's the P2 tier, and then 8:30 is the P1 tier. So it's just me in the commentary box. Liam, who would normally be around, isn't here this evening. He's got other commitments going on with him, I should say. And one of the drivers who's also not here tonight is Jess, as she's involved in other commitments as well. So we've got 15 drivers in the lobby ready to go. So we'll be going on to qualifying in about a minute or so time. So do get involved in the chat if you ever so wish. Keen to take your questions or anything during tonight's action. Interested to know how you're getting on with your season, or what's been going on throughout the week. And in case you're wondering, if you're joining us for the first time, and you come across One Hub Racing for the first time, you can subscribe via the YouTube channel. And if you are keen on getting involved in racing or in commentary, you can do so by joining One Hub Racing's Discord channel. It's in the link in the description below. You can find out all the details, including the F1 League that we run on Fridays. On Tuesdays, we run an ASSETTO CORSA COMPETIZIONE PS5 League. So if you've got a PS5 and you are interested in ASSETTO CORSA COMPETIZIONE, then it's there. And on Thursdays, if you are a PC person and want to get involved in ASSETTO CORSA COMPETIZIONE as well, then you can do that on a Thursday evening. So just get involved, sign up, and get in contact with one of the admins on One Hub Racing's Discord server, and they'll provide you with the details of which you need to know in order to get involved. And whilst we mention the sponsors and partners, I just want to give a mention also to the Mental Health Foundation, who are One Hub Racing's official charity. Considering that we've been through a pandemic, obviously it's taken a toll on a lot of people's mental health in regards to how it's affected them, in regards to like work or within their personal lives or whatever it may be that's affected them on their mental health side of things. The Mental Health Foundation is partnered up with One Hub Racing as its official charity, and it's a very, very touching charity of which the league is together with. Meanwhile, the qualifying session is about to get underway. 18 minutes to determine the grid. There are no points on offer for pole position, but this will determine the grid for the race. Jamie will be going into it knowing that he doesn't need to take too many risks. All he needs to do is just focus on what he needs to do at the front. I will give a mention that during the race, the driver has to make at least 2 mandatory pit stops. In terms of what tyres they choose to be on, well, that's down to them to decide it, but they must make at least 2 mandatory pit stops. As of when they need to make it, that's entirely down to them as well. So, just want to run through a Stewards Briefing in regards to what to look out for. So, in terms of last time out, it's another fairly quiet week in the Stewards office. In the P4 tier, Jason, who finished on the podium, I believe, last week. Let's just have a look back on everything that's happened. I think the penalty had been applied to his time. So Jamie was promoted to second at the expense of Jason. So Jason fell down to third as a result of the 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. And in the same tier, Mega Gamer was disqualified from the season for crashing his car on purpose and waiting to move until a safety car was deployed. So that's handed in the disqualification, which means that he will not take part in the remainder of this campaign. So in terms of the action zones around Austin, turn 1 is most definitely an overtaking point, especially on the opening lap. It always runs the risk of incidents. The wide entry to the corner can encourage drivers to go for overtakes up the inside. However, the tight apex of the corner can lead to cars running out of space and on a collision course with the side of cars taking a wider entry into the corner. Give each other space and avoid going for dive bombs up the inside to give everyone the best chance of making it through in one piece. Turn 11 is another one that can be compared with turn 1 because of its sharp entry. It's quite a blind corner when you think of it, but it's very easy to miss the apex as you brake and turn in. And turn 12 is another left-hander as well. It's a left-hander, I should say, for turns 1 and 11, not a right-hander. And turn 12 is another overtaking spot to mention for the drivers. Turn 16 as well, the winding right-hander. It's technically one turn, but it's classified as turn 16, 17 and 18 for that. So it's important to make sure that the drivers are leaving each other enough space as they go through there, especially if you go side by side on the exit of turn 15 on the run-up through 16, 17 and 18. The pit entry, very important that the drivers stay to the left of the bollard and not cutting into the pit lane later than they should. Otherwise, that could be a penalty coming their way. We've got 15 drivers in the lobby then ready to go for qualifying. They're just sorting out their last minute setups. And we will be ready for some qualifying action. We've got some time to run through the drivers' press conference. We'll begin with Infamous on this one because he was asked the top 2 in the championship. That might be a theme over the next few weeks until we crown the overall champion. His response was, "You've been quick on occasions," or the question to Infamous was, "You've been quick on occasion and have 1 win to your name, but also have more DNFs than Jamie. Is he now the favourite to win, and will he feel more pressure to deliver than you?" And Infamous's response was, "I just have to thank you for the opportunity to fight again in this championship and for this podium. I'm sure Jamie is the favourite. However, we must understand that if other drivers participate in the last two races, they also have a chance. But back to the subject, Jamie definitely deserves the trophy, the podium. Let's be clean and fair, and the best will be the champion." I think that's probably a good attitude to have, really, from Infamous, who's been one of the, I don't want to say the elder statesmen, but he's been around in the league for some time now, for a good few seasons or so. And Mason's been asked as well. Mason, who's in the McLaren this evening, who's out on his outlap at the moment. He's saying that your first win in one hub earlier this season, followed up with a podium, and you find yourself in the top 5 of the championship as it stands. Do you think your form can carry you to a top 3 placing by the end of next week's finale? And his response was, I really hope so. I seem to have good pace here, and the final round at Bahrain is my best track. Going to have to go for it. Well, he's going to have to deliver that here as well. And who knows? I'm just looking at his championship position at the moment for Mason, who's 5th on 54 points. He's 24 off the top. Now, if his teammate Jamie has a one-off evening tonight, and Mason gets a very, very strong result out of this, ideally a win, that could throw him all of a sudden into contention for the title heading into Bahrain in 7 days' time. So, it's all to play for, really, in the championship. There's plenty of permutations, as I've already mentioned. But we'll come to that a little bit later on as the session goes on. Here's Matthias, who's the first driver to begin a flying lap. We'll see how he gets on here. I'm just getting the telemetry analysis system up, and then we can be up to date with where we are as the session goes on. Just waiting for it to appear, and it doesn't seem to do so, unfortunately. So we'll just give it a little bit of time before it does come on. Anyway, Matthias is going through sector 2, 1 minute 3.9 by the second sector. So as he makes his way into turn 19 and into the last braking zone of turn 20. Very easy to get it on. He nails the apex quite nice actually, but he spins! Matthias spins, and he's wasted that lap. He might have damaged the rear wing as well, so that'll be him off into the pit lane as we watch the Alfa Romeo go past him. So that's a bit of a shame there for Matthias. He does go to the top with that time, but he will need to do better than that next time around. Here's Mason, who we've just spoken about in the driver's press conference, in terms of what he's had to say on the basis of his form so far. His best result has been a victory in the second race of the season in Austria. He's gone to the top with 135.4. Smithy Chris second fastest on a 135.6, and it's Giggle in third with 135.7. There's Infamous, who's going through the penultimate turn now. Spike Day gets this right as Nick goes fastest with 135.2 in the Haas. Infamous over the line, and I think he made a mistake on the lap somewhere, so Infamous will be going again in the Red Bull, and that's Kaya going for a spin. Unfortunately, that's another spin for him, so that's that lap race wasted. Jamie's exceeded track limits, so he's not going to be going quick on that attempt, as Thibaut goes for a spin at turn number 7, I believe. There's plenty of turns around the circuit, particularly in the first half of the lap. Here's King in the Alfa Romeo. So he's exceeded track limits, actually, so he's not going to be setting a lap time there. Fozzie Bear has just started a flying lap. We'll stay with him for now. But it's Nick who's fastest at the moment with 135.2, followed by Mason, who's 0.2 behind him in the McLaren. And it's Smithy in third place, whose car was controlled by the AI last week in Spain. And Rageman, who won last week's race in Barcelona, is not around tonight, unfortunately, for whatever reason. But the show must go on no matter what. Fozzie Bear is coming towards turn 12 now. Nails the apex nicely. You have to really gamble in terms of how you brake and then you turn into the corner. You've got to really take that a little bit more of a risk. You've got to be a little bit brave in terms of nailing the apex here, because it's not so easy. Well, it is easy to miss the apex there, but just once you take a safe route past turn 12, you may think, well, I should have gone into there a little bit more aggressively and rotated a bit sooner. And Fozzie Bear missing the apex of turn 19. That will put him a little bit offline. He's coming around the last corner now. Fozzie Bear for Alpine goes up to 6th place with that time. So James exceeded track limits again, so he'll probably need to come into the pits to get another set of tyres on. So TJW. Here he's going through sector 2 at the moment. He's on a fairly decent lap as the Ferrari driver. He's coming into the last turn now is TJW, and this is going to be a 1:35.8, and that's good enough for 6th fastest. And Kingham has retired from the session. I think he's in the pit lane actually, but he's not actually set a lap time. So he will be starting from the back of the grid. Rimpert, who wasn't in last week, is back in tonight. Has yet to score a point so far. In fact, he's yet to finish a race this season. All 4 races that he has competed in have been non-finishers. They've got a little over 9 minutes remaining in qualifying. And it's Nick who's still fastest by 0.2. But there's still a number of drivers who have yet to set representative lap times. Matthias is one of them who is going through. In fact, he's on a really poor lap actually. He's made a mistake somewhere, so he's not going to be going fastest anytime soon. Now, is Rimper going to be within the 1:03 here by sector 2? It's only 1:04.0 by this stage of the lap. And whilst we watch Rimper, I'm just going to take a moment just to check some settings, just to make sure the TS or the TAS is working as it should be. So we're back in a moment. So Rimper goes 5th fastest with 1:35.7, just under half a second adrift of the provisional pole time. Mason is in the McLaren going through sector 2. We've just seen his teammate coming through the last corner now to start a flying lap. I think Jamie's time was invalidated for track limits, so he's going to have to go again. Mason is improving through sector 2, so this is looking good for him to get up to provisional pole. Into the last turn now, and this should put him into a 1:34, and he goes to the top. Well, in fact, Matthias has gone to the top just before then in the Haas on a 1:34.6, so he's able to keep his car on track this time, and he goes to the top. King is on a fast lap. Jamie's on a fast lap. Kaya is not on a fast lap. In fact, he's just stopped just before the pit entry, and I'm not sure what he's trying to do. And he's going to be disqualified if he doesn't get moving here. So Jamie, on his way. Is he going to keep his car pointing the right way this time? Jamie coming around the last turn. Is this going to be good enough to put him on the front row at least? It's only third fastest behind his teammate. But that'll be fine for now for the championship elect. Or the champion elect, I should say. So Kaya just pulling to the sides, just staying out of everyone's way. Indecisive has posted a 1:37.8, but I'm sure that's not a representative time by his standards. Here's Thibaut. He's coming through now to start a flying lap. So Mackie in the Mercedes is coming through. Sector 2. Now where is he going to stand in comparison to the competition here? So nearly 7/10 adrift from what he posted before. I think this is where he made the mistake from last time, did Mackie. So that lap time of how much faster he's going is not the provisional pole time, that's of his personal best by that stage of the lap. So coming through the last turn now, and Mackie posts a 1:36.5, and he only stays in 12th position. So that's not a particularly quick lap time there by Mackie. Just looking to see who else is on a fast lap. Well, Mackie, well, he's not going to be going again surely, so he'll be back in the pits. Kyra is back in the pits now. He needs to get another set of soft tyres on. Give himself one last go, at least try to get a decent lap in there. And the Red Bull of Infamous is coming back out now. He really needs a strong qualifying. He needs to get ahead of the man who is leading the championship, Jamie Met. And Thibaut is coming through the last turn. You can see all the dirt on the side pods and the floor of that AlphaTauri. That's not going to do him any favours, really. And his battery's not even that high either, so if it was me I would have got him into the pits there, but it'll be too late now. So there's TJW in the Ferrari, aiming for a good result tonight so far this season. He wasn't around in Barcelona last week, but his best result has been 4th, and that came in round 4 of the championship, which was at Imola. And he's coming up behind one of the Aston Martins here. Well, the only Aston Martin this session, that'll be Smithy Chris. We didn't quite have a look to see what his Sector 1 time was like. So we'll see how he's going on by Sector 2. It's a 1:04.0, but he's going 6/10 faster than he did so last time. So he could possibly get onto the second row of the grid. Could TJW. Avoids the sausage curves on the outside. So he comes through the long sweeper of turns 16, 17 and 18. Takes the wide line through 19. Has the rear wing open just before the line, and it's a 1:35.1, and he does go onto the second row. Pushes Nick down to 5th place. Infamous has just started the lap. Smithy's about to start what is probably going to be his last attempt. Mason on the lap in the McLaren. This will most likely be his last attempt. He could do with pole position. But it's Matthias who's top by nearly 0.3 of a second over Mason in P2. and Jamie in P3. And Mason is a 10th up from before. As it stands, it's not going to be enough for him to get pole, but he'll give it a good go in the last sector. He's missed the apex of turn 15 there. That won't help him too much, to be honest. He's got some traffic coming up in a moment or two. He should be okay now. Approaching the last turn. Is this good enough for Mason to get onto pole position in the McLaren? It's not. It's an improvement in time. He's a 10th away from pole, but Mason will not start on pole position. Matthias and Jamie have started flying laps now. Infamous has gone 4th fastest in the Red Bull. It's important. He's not ahead of Jamie, but at least he is alongside him. So Infamous up the order a little bit now. Nick down to 6th place. TJW coming into the pits. There's Chris, who's on a much better lap time than before. So could he maybe displace Jamie and Infamous with this one? Not quite. 6th fastest. He lost some time in the last sector, but he's on the 3rd row anyway. Now Fozzie Bear is coming through. He's not on an improvement, I don't think, so he's not going to go faster than before. So we'll go to Nick, who is going much better in sector 2 than last time. This could put him even back to provisional pole if he gets the last corner immaculate. And he does go fastest. So Nick on provisional pole in the Haas. Kaya, who is coming through in the AlphaTauri, who's yet to set a lap time in this session. He's going to about to do so now, but it will only be good enough for 13th fastest. But we want to go back to Matthias because he is not on any improvement through sector 2. He's used his deployment of ERS, so he can only go 2nd. Jamie over the line. Can he improve his position? He improves his time, but he stays 4th fastest. We've got the Alfa Romeo coming through. This is King, who's validated his lap, so he's not going to be going any quicker. Infamous has spun on the exit the last turn, so he won't be going up the order either. Mason's come back into the pit lane. TJW is not on the lap. Chris is not on the lap either. Fozzie Bear is on a lap, and he's improving by sector 2. Mackey's not on an invalidated lap, so he needs to move out the way, really, of Fozzie Bear, which he has not done so yet. I think Fozzie Bear is out of his ERS because he's wasted. He hasn't quite built up his ERS on the outlaps, really, from what he did so before. So I doubt he's going to go any quicker here. And coming over the line, it is an improvement in lap time, but he stays in P11. So after all that, it is an all-Haas front row at their home race. Nick ahead of Matthias, with Mason and Jamie making up an all-McLaren row 2. And it's Infamous, the man in 2nd place in the championship, behind his championship rival Jamie Met in 5th place, with Giggle next behind. So looking at the other championship contenders, obviously Jason's not around tonight. Jess isn't either. Mason mathematically still in the hunt. Giggle is as well. Rageman, who's just got in time, who will take part in the race, will start 14th on the grid, by virtue of the fact that Kingham and Tebow have not set lap times either. But Nick will be a very happy man. He hasn't competed last week. He joined in round 4 of the championship at the Imola. 7th place finish in Hungary. He's on pole for this one. He knows he's not going to be in the championship 5, but he'll most certainly want to be ending the last 2 races of season 21 in the P4 tier on a high. He's most certainly given himself a chance at it. We've just seen the AI being included there, but just ignore that anyway. But Nick is on pole position in the Haas. Matthias lines up alongside him on the front row, just 0.04 of a second separating the two. Then it's Mason ahead of his McLaren teammate Jamie on row 2. Infamous in 5th alongside Giggle. Then it's TJW and Smithy Chris on the 4th row. King and Rimper alongside on the 5th row. Fuzzy Bear and Mackie next behind, with Kaya in 13th, the last driver to settle that time. Then it's Rageman, Kingham and Tebow running up the 16 drivers taking part tonight. So there's plenty of permutations in regards to how the championship can be decided. All Jamie needs to do is to outscore Infamous by at least 10 points this evening, and hope that Mason or Giggle or Rageman don't really take victory tonight. There's plenty of permutations anyway, and as the race goes on, we'll run through. Where they are in the race and what it would mean for the championship also. So in terms of rivalries, so I'm just looking to see who is on there from P4 tier. So we've got something to discuss. There is something about Jason, obviously, but he's not in tonight, unfortunately. We'll take the moment again to mention our sponsors and partners. So Next Level Racing, who sponsored the league by providing its prizes. Pure Sim Gear, who sponsored the league by providing the pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined poles and fastest laps. Gamergoo sponsored the league by providing the Gamergoo samples to the trophy winners. The partners begin with Vespertine, who support the championship prizes. ERT, who support with the Going Gets Tough award and league trophies. And finally SimGrid, who power One Hub Racing, keeping up to date with all these seasons, race results, stand-ins, and the trophy prizes to all the drivers concerned. And just another mention as well that each driver has to make 2 mandatory stops in the race. Failure to do so will result in an automatic disqualification. So there'll be no formation that will be going straight into the race. So Nick on pole with his Haas teammate Matthias alongside, and it's the Team McLarens of Mason and Jamie in the hunt for the title. Will the championship be decided today? The 5 red lights are on ahead of the drivers. It's the lights out, and away we go. Nick gets off to a very good start. Matthias gets off really, really poorly. He's had a disastrous start. And look at the McLarens as Jamie is up the inside of his teammate Mason already. It's a second place by turn 1. Brilliant start by the champion-elect. Mason down to 3rd. We've got the Ferrari going side by side with him, and Infamous just getting boxed in behind. So Infamous losing out in all this. He's remaining in 5th position behind Mason. Giggle up to 3rd place, so we've got a few drivers using the runoff area at the moment. But Nick has got to a very positive start. Chris has been penalised for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, so he's got with it all to do from there. He's down to 13th position, but Jamie getting the start they wanted from 4th on the grid up to 2nd by the time they get to turn 11. So Nick in the lead, Jamie in P2. Then it's Giggle in 3rd place with Mason in 4th. So if the race was to finish as it is, Jamie would not be crowned champion, but most certainly take him a giant step closer to the title. This is Infamous down the inside there of Mason into turn 12. A very important manoeuvre there from the Red Bull driver, and he's got himself up there into 4th position. There's a spin there for one of the Alpines. That's Fozzieberg going round. Not a good start for him, and he falls to the back. So Nick pulling out a crucial 1.1 second margin. That's enough to get him out of DRS range, as Jamie's just been overtaken by Giggle. So Giggle, who knows he needs to get every point he can from this race to keep himself in the running for the title, has got ahead of the man who's leading the championship. So Infamous closing up behind Jamie. He knows he has to finish ahead of him to give himself a realistic chance of the championship heading into Bahrain in 7 days' time. We're watching Rageman, who could still mathematically be in contention for the title. He looks to go right round the outside there of the Alfa Romeo of King, heading into turn 1. Runs wide there, avoids the sausage curbs. You don't want to be riding over those, as that could give you floor damage. But he spins! Rageman spins to the Alpine! At turn 2, he stays out of everyone's way. The car is ghosted, so he doesn't collect another driver. But Rageman has lost a bundle of time, and that's him down the order. And Mackie nearly running into him, actually, as Kaya in the pits with damage. So he's leaving himself with too much to do already in this race. And this is Giggle up the inside there of Nick. And that could well explain it, because he's on the soft compound to Nick, who's on the mediums. So Giggle, having a phenomenal start to the race, is up into the lead now. And we've just seen Jamie getting into the slipstream of the Haas. He could well be moving up the order also. But he knows he doesn't want to be taking too many risks here. He knows he's got an 11-point lead. Well, technically 12, because Jason is not running tonight. So Jamie could well be extending his lead in the championship as it stands. We've got a spin in set 2. It's Kaya who's having another race to forget this evening. He's been struggling to get to the end of races this season. He's lost a bundle of time. You can just see Nick exceeding track limits clearly there, as TJW has picked up a track limits penalty. 3 seconds it is. As we see Nick look to fend off Giggle as they go through turn 20. And now we watch Jamie, we're right on board with now. In third place, as Infamous has got alongside him into turn 1. It's important that Infamous gets through here. He needs to make the strategy work, and he's done so. So Jamie not fighting it too much there, as Infamous goes past him into third place by the time they get through the S's on that 3. We've just seen Nick get penalised now for track limits. He won't want to be making too many of those, and the last thing he'll want is a safety car in the closing stages, which will compromise his race massively, as Kaya picks up a penalty also in the AlphaTauri. And TJW in 13th, who's also got a penalty to his name. And he's also gone for a spin at turn number 9, but continues. And the DRS has now been enabled for your information. You can see Infamous closing up behind Nick. It's vital that he gets ahead of him. Not sure he'll go for it into turn 13. He'll give it a good try, no matter what. I'll probably wait for the DRS zone, because that was where he pulled off the move on Jamie Alaba. Oh, Nick spins! So Nick from second place has spun in the Haas. He's already picked up a track limits penalty. I think someone else has gone round for a spin also. So Nick, after starting from pole position, has thrown it away on lap 3. That moves Infamous into second place then, as Jamie has DRS behind him. Will he go for a move? Or will he wait behind for a bit until he comes in for a stop? Now they must make 2 mandatory pit stops at some point in the race. So Jamie will go on a longer first stint in comparison to those on the soft compounds. At least all 16 drivers are still running. Kaya, who's already made a pit stop, he's down in 16th place, a long way behind the front runners. It's Jamie, who is right on board, giving Infamous a hard time. He's within DRS range, so he should pull off an overtake down this back straight. Mackie's the next driver to get penalised, as Tebow goes for a spin on the exit of turn 9. He continues though, but falls behind TJW. So Giggle has a 2.6 second lead over Infamous. You see a move there from the Williams of Kingan. He didn't set a lap time in qualifying. He's got through on the Alfa Romeo of Rimper. And he's up into 5th position. The only Williams driver competing tonight in the P4 tier. So approaching the end of lap 4, as we see Rimper taking the opportunity to come into the pits to make his first of 2 mandatory pit stops. Now, what compound is he going to go on? Whilst we wait for it, we just see Jamie go toe-to-toe with Infamous right round the outside. Infamous getting his elbows out, pushing him out as far wide as he can. He goes side by side through turn 2, and Jamie is back into second place. So Jamie is through ahead of his nearest championship rival for tonight. And as it stands, it would not see him clinch the championship, but it would take him a giant step closer to it. And Rimper has rejoined on a set of medium compound tyres, so he'll be going on a longer second stint. And finally, the task is working now. Thank you to Luke for confirming that to me via the DMs. So we've got it up and running, so it keeps us on track with where each driver is on circuit, or how the drivers are doing in terms of lap times, what tyres they're on currently, whether they've had damage also. And it looks like Thibaut has retired in the pits, so that's his race over. Unfortunately, it's been a nightmare of an evening for him. It has been for AlphaTauri, it has to be said. They just cannot find any form at the moment. And Giggle, with his 2.3 second margin, when will he decide to pit in? Now, with him out in the lead at the moment, he's got a good margin over Jamie. Infamous is staying out there. He needs to try and stretch out that stint as much as possible if he can. And Kingham nearly cutting across there on Chris as they both enter the pit lane in 5th and 6th places at the end of lap 5. And there's Nick there in 8th place currently. He'll move up to 6th once he goes past those two who are going down pit road, as they would call it in the United States. As Rageman looks to push hard. He looks to recover from that spin they had on lap 2. So with Jamie in 2nd place, that would net him 17 championship points. If it was to remain as it is, with Infamous getting 14 points, with Giggle out in front in the lead, he would collect 20 points. So Giggle will move up to 72 points. Jamie, with his 2nd place, would move on to 95, which would put Giggle out of championship contention. Infamous would stay in the hunt, but he would lose ground and he would only be 15 points off the top. Jess, we know, is out of title contention, and Mason would also be out of title contentions, which would leave only 2 drivers in the running for the championship. But Jamie would be firm favourite going into Bahrain without a shadow of a doubt. As Giggle comes into the pits at the end of lap 6. As Jamie continues on, as does Infamous. Mason also in the McLaren. Giggle going on to a set of medium compound tyres. And there is King on the hard compound, staying out. As Rimper close up behind the Ferrari as he looks to make a move. As Mason rejoins in a heap of traffic, that's not good news for him. He's leaving himself with too much to do at the moment. But there's your current race leader, Jamie, who's yet to make a pit stop. It's likely he'll probably go onto a set of soft compounds for the last 2 stints, because the algorithm works in the game for F122 is that in the race you normally go into the event with 4 sets of softs, 1 set of medium and 1 set of hards. Whereas in last year's game it was 3 sets of softs, 2 mediums and 1 hard. We've just had a spin from Mackie in the Mercedes. He's not having a good race tonight. He's fallen down the order again. Started the race on the hard compound, but it's not worked out for him so far. So Jamie in the lead for McLaren. And Giggle, who has Well, Nick has posted the best first sector so far in the race. Giggle has posted the best second sector time in the race. I was just seen Infamous come into the pits. Off goes the softs, on go the mediums. So he's completed 7 laps on the softs. So we should expect him to do at least 14 laps on the mediums before he comes in for his final pit stop. And in terms of track position, he'll get out in front of Fozzie Bear without an issue. And Chris with the fastest up of the race as we watch Rimper make a move on TJW. They nearly make contact. They avoid contact, thankfully. So Mason was not able to get in front of Infamous in that round of pit stops. There's Matthias right behind his teammate. He's carrying a time penalty at the moment. So Jamie, as he looks to maintain a good hold on this race, will he come out as the race victor? Just a reminder, if he was to win the race and get fastest lap, Infamous would need to finish 3rd or higher to stay in the hunt for the championship. At the moment, he's running in 6th place, but there are drivers who are still yet to make a stop in this one. If Jamie was only to win the race, Infamous would need to finish 4 or higher to stay in the hunt. With the track position he's got in front of him right now, it's looking very, very good for Jamie in regards to the championship. Managing his ERS well, managing the tyres well. And we'll go back to... Oh, Rimper's gone for a spin. So Rimper's gone for a spin on the exit of the last turn, and he's lost a lot of time, and he's fallen down to 13. And we've just seen... I think Giggle's not past the Haas drivers. I was just looking at Infamous, actually, whether he got overtaken, but he's still in 6th place right now, as we see Giggle looking to make a move on the 2 Haasses. Vitally important he gets ahead. And Rageman has picked up a time penalty now for track limits, which is unfortunate. So he uses his ERS to make amends, gets into the 6th stream. Rear wing open, he's ahead of Matthias. Can he get ahead of the 2nd Haas by the time they get to turn 12? He's up the inside, and he's still on the pair of them. So a nice piece of overtake there from Giggle. And he's up into P3 with that lap, or with that overtake, I should say. I'm muddling up with my words at the moment. It looks like Kingan and Mason are dicing over 9th place. And Kingan has got ahead of Mason. As we see Kaya go for a spin on the exit of turn 2. And his front wing's gone. So that'll be him off into the pits at the end of this lap. And we see Matthias go for a spin now at turn 18 there. And he's falling down the order. Oh, he's got to be careful not to fall. That was dangerous from Matthias there. He didn't rejoin in a safe manner, to be honest with you. The stewards may look at that afterwards, but Kingan had to take evasive action to avoid contact. And Mason in 9th place as Chris and Rageman close in. Rageman had recently set the fastest up of the race so far. As Matthias comes out in 14th place, and Chris has lost connection somehow. As Rageman goes past Chris, his car is controlled by the AI for now at least. So Matthias' spin has promoted Infamous up to 5th place. As we watch Giggle get past King into 2nd. So Giggle wasting no time disposing of drivers who have yet to pit in this race. He's not hanging around by any means. As Kaya comes into the pits, and I would say this is going to be a retirement for him, and it is so. So both AlphaTauris out of the US Grand Prix. It's been a race to forget for those two drivers. And Giggle holding up the Alfa Romeo and the Haas. He's looking to pull away from them. And Infamous is under threat here from Fozzibear, who hasn't pitted yet. He's closing in on him and staying in touch. .8 seconds is the gap between the top two as Giggle closes in on Jamie, as you would expect him to, as Jamie's still yet to pit. He's got all the track he needs. Doesn't need to be pushing too hard. Not too many changes going on further behind as Kingham closes in on TJW, who's carrying a time penalty of 3 seconds. As you can see there. And he's going to use his DRS to move in front, and I think there's going to be a change in position. And Kingham goes through no problem. So Kingham looking for a good haul of points. Failed to finish last week as he crashed out. And Jamie's in the pit. So Jamie, from the race lead, comes in for his first pit stop. Now, what tyre is he going to go on? Is it going to be the softs or is it going to be the hards? It's the soft compound, so he needs to make those tyres last. Now, Giggle should move into the lead. So, I think Jamie's going to go out in front of Nick here. So Jamie rejoins in second place. So it's worked out rather nicely for the championship leader. He can start closing on Giggle, but he needs to manage his tyres very, very well because he's got another stop to make unless he thinks about going onto the hard compound, which is not particularly the favoured tyre around here. TJW picking up another 3 seconds. That will hurt him at the end of the race. And King, who's just been overtaken by Nick, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So Nick is through into third position. And Kingham passes Fozzibear for 6th place. And Giggle in the race lead still, with Jamie in P2. So it'll be a mixture of two strategies here. I would imagine that Giggle will go into the soft compound for the last stint. Fozzibear's in the pits for his first stop of the race. And it looks like someone has gone for a spin. And it's Rimper. That's his second spin of the race. Has he suffered any damage through all that? I don't think he has. And so he continues, but he's lost time. Fozzibear exits the pits in 10th place. And Nick's out! So Nick has crashed out on the exit. And I think that's going to bring out the safety car. It has. So that's going to change the course of the race. So those who haven't pitted have the chance to probably go onto the soft compound for the next stint. And those who have already made a pit stop are probably going to make their stops now. So I would imagine that Giggle and Jamie are going to go onto the hard compound. So Nick has dropped it on the exit of turn 6. Whacked the wall. And the front right suspension has been damaged through all of that. So just looking to see who's made a pit stop. Pretty much everyone apart from King, TJW and Mackie. So it's inevitable that they're going to be coming into the pits. I just wonder whether maybe the likes of Infamous and Kingdom may decide to take a gamble here and go on to a set of softs unless it's too risky. Well, interestingly, Giggle has stayed out, as has Jamie. They're not going to be coming in for a tide change now. King is, which is no surprise because he's not pitted yet. Infamous is staying out. Kingdom's not pitting him. TJW, I would imagine, is going to pit him because he's not stopped yet. Mason, Rageman are staying out. Now, Fozzie Bear, who's just pitted for his first stop, he's having to adhere to the safety car delta. So Giggle may have a change in strategy a little bit. Well, most certainly Jamie, because with these laps behind the safety car, he may decide to go into a set of softs for the last stint. Infamous in third place as well. You can go a little bit longer and go into a set of softs at the end. So the race is rather livening up now. Now, if the race was to finish as it is, with Jamie in second place and Infamous in third, Jamie would not win the championship, but would extend his lead from what was 12 points over Infamous to 15 points, with 21 left on the table in Bahrain next week. So those who have made their second stops, let's have a look to see who's made a second stop in this race. Well, Matthias has made a second stop now, as is Chris, who's not returned back to the lobby yet. So I would say that Matthias is probably going to need to stop again, because there's no way he's going to get to the end on that set of soft compound. Now, who will decide to pit in here? I think if you're the race leader, you probably want to stay out. But those behind may decide to take a gamble. And I've just seen that the rain has started to fall on the circuit of the Americas. So that could change things. Could most definitely make a tasty restart. So that's what the drivers were preempting. Didn't even think about the rain coming down. It looks too bright for it to rain, but that's what the weather can do for you, I suppose. So it's going to be another couple of minutes before this race gets underway, which makes me think, how soon will it be before the drivers really start to struggle on there? I've just seen Wimper go off the track and into the barrier. Surely that's damaged the car. Luckily, it hasn't, and he's able to continue. You have those at the back of the field, you may as well decide to take a gamble and get a set of intermediates on. So Giggle leads. He'll be out of title contention as it stands. So would Mason, who's currently running in 5th place, as would Rageman. So Giggle will back the field up as the safety car is going to be peeling into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Now this is going to be interesting. Who's going to duck into the pits for intermediates first? Now Giggle, I don't think will want to hang around too much here, because when TJW's just collided with King, and that could, Well, that's given him a penalty, unfortunately, which is a shame. You can see the drops of rain hitting the track, so... Who's going to pit into Matthias? Infamous is in. So the race gets underway as Giggle maintains his margin. But most of the field are ducking into the pit lane for intermediates. So and that's Rimper, who's just used the resets track. So that could give him a penalty after the race is done. But Giggle has stayed out, as has Jamie. Mackie is in third place, with Chris also staying out. His car is controlled by the AI though, I should say. But you can see so much activity in the pit lane. Now, has Jamie... He's just got past into the lead, so Giggle's made a mistake somewhere in the Ferrari. But all that could come to nothing because the track is becoming so damp, they're going to lose so much time. They're going to lose out horribly. So it's great news for the likes of Infamous and Mason and Rageman, who are down the order at the moment. They're going to be moving up the order as it stands as Rimper goes off the track. He's gone into the gravel. Gets back on circuit now, though. There's Jamie. As we watch Mackie make a move on Giggle here. Up the inside, does Giggle see him? He does. Leaves him enough room, and the two don't make contact. And Jamie's going to struggle here on his way into the pit lane. He just needs to be careful not to exceed track limits either. Not push too hard. Very easy to lose it through there. Now I wonder how long the rain is going to stay out there for. Is the rain going to intensify more to the point where wet tyres are going to be needed? Well, Jamie's in now, as are Giggle and Mackie. Chris will most certainly be coming into the pits. The AI-controlled Aston Martin. So Infamous is going to take the lead of the Grand Prix, which is huge for the championship. Interesting to see where Jamie rejoins as he exits the pits. I don't think he's going to be too far down the field. He's just leaving now. So Jamie, I think, is going to rejoin in third place behind the top two. As Mason runs wide onto the sausage curbs, that's not going to help him at all. As we have an incident in sector 1. Who's that that's gone off? It's Rageman. That's a terrible shame for him. He's lost a place to his teammate Fuzzy Bear. He's about to lose another one to Giggle, who's just exited the pit lane. This is played horribly into Giggle's hands. It's not worked out for him at all as Kingham gets a penalty now for track limits. You can see the two fighting for the race lead. Kingham down the inside of Infamous. Infamous will have to go defensive here because not only he has to worry about Kingham, but Kingham nearly drops it into the path of Jamie, and Jamie should take advantage and move into second place, and he has done so. So Jamie up into second position ahead of the Williams, and now the next man ahead of him is the man who's closest to him in the championship, Infamous. Contact made between Kingham and Jamie. Kingham not giving up on that second place. Jamie should stay ahead of him for now, at least. And he does so. So Jamie up into P2. As Mason looks to close in. Kingham's in fifth place with Fuzzy Bear ahead of his Alpine teammate Rageman. And Mackie keeping TJW at bay. Matthias not really gaining that much despite pitting in like the others did at the same time at the end of that safety car period. And it looks like someone has gone for a spin. Who's gone for a spin? Rageman's had his second spin of the lap. So he's had a nightmare of a restart so far. As we watch the leaders, as Jamie closes up behind Infamous. Now with Infamous in the lead and Jamie in second place. It'd be a 3-point difference. The gap would be cut down by 3 points. So Infamous would be 9 points behind Jamie, so it's vitally important that he stays in front of the McLaren. Jamie knows he doesn't need to take too many risks here, but he will want to take this victory so much. You can see he's got better confidence in the McLaren than the Red Bull has, and I think he should be able to move in front by the time they get down to turn 11. Does Jamie go up the inside here of the Red Bull? He thinks about it, but doesn't go for it. Now, can he get good traction on the exit of turn 11 and get into the slipstream and move in front by the time they get to the end of this back straight? Jamie will get into the slipstream, but he's got Kingham, who got a good exit coming out of turn 11, who might just move back in front of him here. Kingham up the inside of the McLaren, and he's through into second place again. So Jamie down to third place. Having said that, Kingham is carrying in a penalty. So if Jamie can stay within 3 seconds of him, he'll move back into second place. Kingham might just make a move, though, on the Red Bull to help him win the race on merit. Oh, he's dropped it, though. And Kingham just about recovers it, but he's fallen behind the second McLaren of Mason. So Kingham got too much wheel spin on the exit of turn 15 and he's fallen down to fourth position. And now we see Jamie up the inside of Infamous as they approach the last turn of the lap. And Jamie takes the lead momentarily, but Infamous is not giving up. The championship contenders going side by side on the pit straight. 10 laps to go. Who's going to win the US Grand Prix here in Austin in wet conditions? Jamie up the inside again of Infamous into turn 1. Infamous leaves him enough space. And Jamie has got better traction on the exit than the Red Bull. And he's back into the lead. So Jamie in the McLaren in the race lead here in Austin. And could that take him a giant step closer to the P4 tier championship cycle? Infamous losing track there. He's got poor lines through the S's. And now he's got to be careful because he's got Mason and Kingham breathing down his neck again. So Infamous may feel hard done there by the overtake on Jamie. But he's got to make sure he keeps his car on track. And there's Fozzie Bear in 6th position. Giggle in 7th place. Was the race leader earlier, but not anymore now. And just looking at the fastest laps now, it's unlikely we're going to go back to dry conditions anytime soon. But Rageman has the fastest lap out of those outside the top, inside the top 10, I should say. Outside the top 10, it's Smithy Chris in the Aston Martin. You can see the penalties there. So as it stands, Kingham would lose nothing at the moment. King would lose 2 positions as a result of his penalty. There's Kingham. As we see Giggle go for a spin in the Ferrari, unfortunately. He's not enjoying these conditions at all. It's all fallen away from him, as much as his championship chances. And Mason is just keeping his McLaren in front of Kingham. As it stands, he'll be out of championship contention also. As it looks like Rimper's gone for a spin. I wonder if he's used the reset to track, which is not allowed in one hub racing. The stewards may take a view of that. Rageman in the pits. Has he suffered damage, I wonder? It doesn't look like he has. Has he gone onto a set of wets? No, he's gone in for another set of intermediates. So, yeah, it's all fallen away from him, hasn't it? The race winner of last week. As we watch all this coming together between TJW and the Mercedes of Mackie. Now, with all that debris there, that's going to deploy, I think, the safety car. The safety car has been deployed on track. So, the race is going to bunch up. The field is going to bunch up once more. Who's going to duck into the pits for another set of intermediates then? Jamie, I would say, is going to stay out. Does Infamous take a gamble? And drivers are having to adhere to the safety car delta. The rain is continuing to come down, but not intense enough to the point where wet tyres are needed. It's only damp patches on the racetrack. You can see a little bit of standing water in certain parts of the racetrack, particularly in the run-off areas, but there's not enough in there to think that wet tyres are necessary. Now, I'm just watching Kingham here. He's not coming into the pits. King thought about it, but he stays out. Fozzie Bear not thinking about coming into the pits. And the tyres, I would imagine, will do the same. I think all the drivers bar TJW and Indecisive Mackie who will be in the pits to get new front wings fitted on. So you can see the Ferrari and the Mercedes both in. Rimper and Rageman staying out. But this is going to give TJW and Mackie another chance. Having said that, they are carrying track limit penalties, which will not favour them considering that the safety car is out, which is going to bunch up the field. So 3 drivers out of the Grand Prix, Nick, Kaya and Thibaut, as Mackie gets another penalty under safety car conditions especially. So yeah, this has not been his race at all, unfortunately. Wasn't around last week, was Indecisive Mackie. He's not had the best of seasons either. 6th place finish. Round 3 in Interlagos. So we'll remind you that if the race was to finish as it is now, Jamie would not clinch the championship, but he would increase his margin over Infamous, who would move up to 2nd in the standings ahead of Jason. He would be 15 points behind Jamie, with 21 left on the table at the final round in Bahrain next week. So the safety car is staying out for another lap. We've just seen the rain picking up more and more and more, so I don't think it's necessary to go onto the wet yet, but it's increasingly looking like just see Kingdom go off the track. Unfortunately, he's lost places. So he's dropped down to 6th place in all that now, unfortunately. In regards to the team's championship, there's only one Red Bull competing tonight. Infamous would be collecting 17 points. Jamie and Mason for McLaren would be collecting 34. They would be moving in front in the team's championship. McLaren on 166, Red Bull on 150. McLaren would have a huge margin going to the final round next week, as Giggle looks like he's had another spin in the Ferrari and he's lost a bundle of time. He's just getting back into his position actually, so the safety car should be going in at the end of this lap. So this is pivotal in the race. The conditions are getting trickier, so Jamie has it all to do to make sure keeps his car points in the right way. You can see how easy it is to lose the car through turns 16, 17 and 18. Jamie's just backing the field up, making sure he doesn't catch up to the safety car before it goes in to the pit lane. 6 laps to go. Who is going to win this P4 tier event here in Austin? Over the line they come. Jamie still in the lead, and we are underway again. Just seen Rimper go for a spin in the Alfa Romeo. You can see the drivers trying to find a line at the moment. As we watch Chris, whose car is controlled by the AI at the moment. Oh, that's Infamous off! Infamous in the Red Bull is off the track on the exit of turn 1. Now that could have championship implications, because it means now if Jamie stays where he is and Infamous well down the order, Jamie will be crowned champion of the P4 tier in One Hub Racing. A shocking error by Infamous at such a poor time. Mason moves up to second place for McLaren. As King goes past him, I wonder if Mason and Infamous had come together, because Mason just let King through rather easily there. I think, I'm just looking to see, did Infamous damage his front wing and all that? He might well have done, but either way, he's sent down the order, and with him down to 12th place, Jamie, providing he makes no mistakes, is on course to clinch the championship here in Austin. It's also good news for Mason, because if he can finish second, he would move up to second place in the championship, and it would move McLaren with Infamous down in 12th place, which would only net him 1 point. With the gain the fastest up as well, I think. No, that's Rimper who would get outside the top 10. So with Red Bull only collecting 1 point and McLaren potentially collecting virtually a maximum score, that would all but clinch the championship for McLaren. Not mathematically, but almost certainly. As Fosibert comes into the pits, wet tyres going on the Alpine, so another twist in the race. Infamous stays out on his intermediates. You can see how intensifying the rain is becoming now. So it's no wonder we're seeing a lot of the drivers at the back of the field making the switch. What does Jamie decide to do, though? Surely it's not going to be too long before he, too, makes the switch. He's got a good lead at the moment, so he doesn't need to be taking too many risks at the moment. But if the rain does get too much, the safety car may make a final appearance, but it's probably too late in the race now for that to happen. So got Jamie in the lead, 2.1 seconds over King, who's carrying a penalty. 6 seconds it is. He knows at the moment now he could finish second as it stands. Or does he feel that the victory is there for the taking? So for Infamous to stay in the championship fight, with Jamie leading, but not with the fastest lap, Infamous has to finish 4th or higher to keep the title race going to Bahrain next week. So King closing the gap down. It's now just 1.6 seconds between him and Jamie. And they stay out on the intermediates. And we're seeing Kingham go off the track in the Williams. There's plenty of action up and down the field. Just looking at Fosibert at the moment, I'd be interested to see what times he is setting through the sectors at the moment. It's very, very hard to tell. I mean, he's on his outlap, actually, as TJW comes into the pits. Now, I would probably say that Fosibert is on the right tyres. There's 4 laps to go on a track where there's 20 corners. A lot of them are slow speed. He's probably going to gain a lot in all of this. Those are on the... As Kingham goes off, just avoids the wall. That's not his first spin of the night. And that's allowed Giggle through. As we see Infamous in the pits now. So he feels it's worth the gamble on the wets. He hasn't got anything to lose now. But look at the battle for the lead on the track, because King has closed out that margin. He was 1.6 seconds behind Jamie at the end of the last lap. And he's now right on his gearbox. You can see him using all of his ERS as they go down the back straight. Jamie goes defensive, but he knows that King is carrying a time penalty, and King goes through. So King into the lead on the track, and look at the margin that they've got over Mason in third place. 16 seconds it is. So King, as it stands, worst case scenario, second place in this race. A phenomenal effort, and with him showing the pace at the moment on the intermediates, could he pull out a 6-second margin on Jamie in the final few laps and take an unlikely victory? Now that could change things, because if Jamie was to finish second, Infamous is out of the points at the moment, but with those penalties, he could all of a sudden still stay in the race for the championship. But at the moment, the title would still go to Jamie. Jamie's in the pits then. So Jamie, I would say with that margin, it's probably worth going on to the wets now. Whereas King, with the lap times he's potentially setting, he may as well stay out all the way to the end. But Jamie in the pits now for McLaren. What does Mason do? He decides to stay out. If he wants to stay in championship contention, I should say, he may as well stay out on the intermediates. So Jamie exits in the pits now on a set of wet tyres. He drops to second place behind Mason, but he surely can be on the better tyres. As we watch Fozzie Bear, who's now up to fourth in the Alpine. He's catching Jamie and he's catching Mason. I think Mason's probably on the wrong tyres here, as will King. He is struggling around this race right now as King, but he knows if he can keep it on the track, he could potentially win this race. As Infamous goes for another spin on the exit of the last turn. The wet tyres not favouring him at the moment, and he's falling too far back from those ahead. So Jamie, as it stands, is still on course to win the championship, but he needs to make sure he keeps his car on track. If he bins it, he will not clinch the championship here in Austin, no matter what happens. And now Fozzie Bear has got in front of Mason into third place. He is carrying that penalty, but he could well be getting the podium here as it stands. King at the moment has got just under 15 seconds of a margin over Jamie in second place. But lap by lap, he's going to be losing a bundle of time with him being on the intermediates. Surely he must know that he is on the wrong tyres, but this is by far his best chance to actually win, is King. So it's down really to whether Jamie makes a mistake. All Jamie needs to do to win this race is to be within 6 seconds of King. There's still 2 laps to go. And Fozzie Bear could well be clinching second place also. Mason in fourth, which is where he'll end up finishing. And Rageman is right on his tail also. As Mason makes a mistake on the exit. He's still on the intermediates, remember, it's Mason. And that gives Rageman the high ground to move in front on the full wets. So Rageman moves up into fourth place on track. As we watch the Ferrari of Giggle coming into the pits also. And TJW's front wing has been dented. So that's him falling, or going into the pits at the end of this lap. King's margin over Jamie's down to 8 seconds. 8 seconds. But look at the ground that Jamie's making up with him. Corner by corner, sector by sector, mini sector by sector that is. He's now very much within that 6 second margin to win this race now. And he's done so with about a lap and a half to spare. So Jamie on course to win this race now. Fozzie Bear could well be moving up into second place. As we see the Alfa Romeo Rimper going off track. You can see Infamous right behind Giggle. He's in 11th place now, is Infamous, which will not be enough to keep himself in the championship race. And now King continuing to struggle on the intermediates. He knows if he pits in now, he's going to lose too much time. And that 6 second penalty will not help him either. And Infamous's race goes from bad to worse. 3 seconds it is of time penalty. And King, you can clearly see through the medium speed corners, the fast corners, or the faster corners on this track, as Fozzie Bear has gone for a spin in the Alpine, and that allows his teammate through into third place on track. Now Fozzie Bear will keep the podium as it stands, but Rageman can pull out a 3-second margin on him to take the final podium position. And now we see Jamie as the drivers start their last lap. King knows that the gig is up, and he knows he's not going to win this race. He could still finish second, though, unless Rageman can get close to him and pull off an overtake, because they're both on the same time penalty as each other. I think King knows that Jamie is going to pass him here. I don't think there's really any point holding him up, because if he starts fighting with him, he'll lose ground in the battle with Rageman for second. Jamie just needs to take it very easily. And he's going to take the lead on track on the last lap here. He'll pull alongside, and he should go through. As King runs wide, and Jamie is through at last. A championship winning manoeuvre. And with Infamous well down the order, the title is all going to be sealed here in Austin. Wouldn't expect that 10 laps or so ago. But Jamie is very nearly there now. He can afford to tiptoe his way round. And the victory and the championship is going to be his in season 21. Jamie has yet to win a race this season, believe it or not, but his run of consistency has put him within range to win the championship, and he's going to clinch the championship today with his first win of the season. TJW has retired on the last lap, but here's Jamie for McLaren, round in the last corner. It's been a thrilling race, a race of which he would have taken at the start. Jamie Met wins the US Grand Prix, and doing so, he is the season 21 P4 Tier 1 Hub Racing Champion. A thrilling performance from Jamie from fourth on the grid. Took it very easy at the start. The conditions played into his hands. He played the long game since the season started. It's his first win of the season, and he wins it in style. King, with his 6-second time penalty, has come home in second place, with Fozzie Bear in third, Rageman fourth, Mason in fifth place in the second McLaren. They take a big lead going into the last race of the season in Bahrain in the Constructors. Matthias in sixth, Mackie seventh, Kingham eighth, Chris ninth, Giggle 10th, Infamous only 11th. So that all but confirms Infamous is not going to become world champion. Jamie is the champion tonight here in Austin with a round to spare. Congratulations. So there's your race winner and your new champion of the P4 tier. We knew that Jason and Jess were not here tonight. It was unlikely for Rageman and Mason to remain in the hunt. An unlikely error from Infamous has seen Jamie pull away and clinch the championship with a good haul of points, a big margin, a margin that is impossible for him to be caught. Very well done to King, I have to say, for finishing second as well. So there's your race winner, Jamie Met for McLaren, the race winner and the champion of P4 tier. King in second place with Fozzie Bear in third, Rageman fourth, Mason fifth, Matthias in sixth, Mackie seventh, Kingham eighth, with Smithy and Giggle running out the top 10. Infamous a disappointing 11th for Red Bull, with Rimper in 12th, the last point scorer, with TJW retiring on the last lap. Nick, not classified, neither are Kaya or Tebow. So, it's time for two drivers of the day. The driver of the day for me has to go for Jamie, the first one for him. And my question for him is, that was a chain of events in Austin, mixture of race conditions. There was a mixture of battles going on between you with the likes of Infamous, King, and other drivers, including Mason. But how did you manage it all? And did you really play the long game to make sure you were crowned champion tonight? The second driver of the day, I'll probably give it to King because I thought he did better than expected, especially with the penalty on hand and the fact he was able to stay on track on those intermediates. It was fantastic to see him come home in second place. It was a shame with the 6-second time penalty he got for track limits, but the fact that you kept it on track also on those intermediates, it must have been Bambi on ice for you, wasn't it? So that's my question for the second place driver, King, finishing up there from 9th on the grid. So congratulations to Jamie on his championship victory, and McLaren are very close to sealing the Constructors' Championship. It's not mathematically clinched yet, but it could well be sealed in Bahrain next week. Red Bull need both of their drivers there, otherwise it's automatically McLaren's championship in the P4 tier. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in, and thank you. I'll just give one final mention to our sponsors. They are Next Level Racing, who sponsored the league by providing its prizes. Pure Sim Gear, who sponsored the league by providing their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined total of pole positions and fastest laps. GamerGoo, who sponsored the league by providing its GamerGoo samples to the trophy winners. The Vespa Team, who partnered the league with the support of the championship prizes. ERT, with the Going Gets Tough award and league trophies. And SimGrid, who power the league with the running of the community and platform with all the standings and race results on their websites. And thank you to everyone that's watched this race. It's been a thriller, hasn't it? And if you feel like you want to get involved in One Hub Racing, well, you can. The description of the league's Discord is in the description below, and you can look at all the details as to how you can get involved in regards to Formula 1 or ASSETTO CORSA COMPETIZIONE in PlayStation 5 or on PC. Get in touch with the admins on that Discord server if you wish to get involved. All that leaves for me to say is thank you to everyone that's tuned in. I sadly won't be around next week as I will have work commitments, but whoever is commentating for the P4 tier in Bahrain, do make sure you tune in and make sure you do enjoy it also, as I'm sure it'll be a brilliant end to what's been a brilliant season in the P4 tier. I'll end it there then. Thank you folks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon when One Hub Racing returns.